Inside, so what you said, right? Yeah, it ain't no joke.
So how are we doing today? Who have good news? Who didn't go to Carnival? Who made some money instead? Or made a difference? Anybody?
That's a lot of different questions. Question one, didn't go to Carnival.
Great, okay. You stayed home and
Stayed home, that's question two. Made a difference? Boy, I know.
did some investing or plan to?
In myself,
Great, that's great.
I haven't done anything more widely than that. Actually, I do, but I can't speak about that right now.
Oh, okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Okay,
I
so
don't
once you
think
get
so.
that up and running now, then
Then I
you
can
can
talk
share
about
it.
it. Yes, ma'am.
After, you know? Okay, good.
I won't keep it to myself. I just want to get it right before.
Right. I'll make it work, right.
Yeah, okay.
So what about Toastmasters and, what else did we say?
You said
Not
Kiwanis.
Kiwanis, yeah.
Rotary.
Rotary, because we want to meet those influential persons, we want to get the right groups.
Let me tell you, this is the truth. I ain't ashamed to say, I wanted to join Rotary and was going to.
Excellent, okay.
But then some people, and I still want to do it, but at the time, some people was like, listen, they fine you for everything.
That's okay, it helps you to be disciplined.
That is true.
There you go.
Well, at that time, my wallet wouldn't allow me to get fined
But
regularly.
they finding you $25
Oh
or
yeah, I know, every little kid bit count.
remedial stuff, man. Not no hundreds of dollars or
Fair
something
enough,
like that.
fair enough.
Yeah, not that you can't afford.
But I would say one of the considerations on a serious note now, in terms of Rotary, was which club, you know?
So
Yeah.
pick one, whichever is closest to you, or ask around, and perhaps one of your friends will be there so you'll be more comfortable.
Right, okay.
You know, or just plunge out into some, I don't know, nobody,
That's right.
take your card and introduce yourself. You'll be surprised.
My father made a lot of contacts that assisted him in his business through Rotary.
There you go.
Yeah.
Remember now, all the Chinese going to the Chinese. The Haitian persons, I see a car pull up
Yeah.
and they go in the back of the car and they purchase
Oh, yeah.
from them rather than going to the shops.
Right, right.
And that's how you keep the money in your community, in your network. Look at the Jewish communities.
The Greeks.
Yeah, there you go. So that's how it works. So
Yes, ma'am.
you need those same people who say, no, that's Billy's son, you go to him or he can help you out or whatever.
But don't worry, I go home and tell my wife why you raw so it's time to change.
Yes.
So I have you as a big advocate.
Great, great.
So I'm looking to follow that and
Excellent.
get involved.
And remember now, we're great at talking.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
sing a song, I can rap this right now, but let's make some things happen. We just don't want to talk. This
You have Long Island luck.
yes,
Naturally, right? Which class?
Devlin's key. Yeah.
Morning.
So this is a snippet of a past exam, very recent past exam.
Excellent, thank you. I hear for the Sims.
Okay, what's the last name?
Important.
It's Carol.
Okay. Okay.
You look up your risk rating?
No, ma'am. Because it's a department next week.
Okay, so we can wait till next week to go over that. Oh, everything.
You want to jump in there?
I can put this on your desk and we start to look through this.
Okay.
Are you calling me? So,
No.
like, I don't really want to talk.
Yeah. Specifically.
Yeah. So, we good. Make sure you can answer these questions as we go through. Okay, so y'all can have 5 minutes to look at it. Let's have an idea. The second where it says definition of terrorist financing and definition of weapons proliferation is a part of another question that I just threw in there. Yeah. So that didn't go with number one. And so you'll get 8 questions, you choose 5 that you, right. And remember there are 8 chapters. And so pick the 5 chapters that you know, more than likely there will be a question from each chapter.
Isn't it 9?
9? Okay, yeah.
Okay.
For the most part, yeah. I don't want to see. Okay. Everybody looks sad, like, oh my God. Like,
Gotta start studying.
right, and what I recommended last class, and I think it worked, is we had only out of, 16, 1 person or 2 persons didn't pass. Get each chapter and put 10 points about it. You know, you could imagine, I mean, or determine what type of question. Okay, if we asking about regulatory bodies, of course we have to know who central bank is,
Right.
the Securities Commission, the FATF, the IMF. You see what I mean? So write out those definitions, and then what do they do? Because again, we want more points, right? And that worked for you last time? Okay, good. Yeah, so take that route and that should help. Well, I think it helped if we did it because almost everybody passed,
Okay.
right? You would like to pass, you would. Yeah, so look at the questions, and so you can take this home and practice, and then next week, if you have any questions, we'll go over it. But to me, it's clear as mud from my eyesight, so you would have to tell me differently.
So we basically have something mirror to this.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Same thing.
Because it's the scenario. I like the scenarios.
Yeah. Much better than
This is way better.
Okay, well, good. Happy that you're
So
happy.
there will be no multiple choices this time.
It shouldn't be, but Ms. Archer, when she comes on June the 16th, she'll let y'all know. But when I ask for the past paper, that would be like the exam, this is what she provided.
Okay.
Yeah, but double check just in case. But see, the thing about it is based on the feedback that we get from the class. When we know that, you know, everybody is not sure and we go into depth explaining, we want to make sure that you understand. And again, I think we talked about, no, me and Ms. Archer talked about the difference between the slides. The slides, we don't want you to take the slides home, and people tend to just look at the slide, read exactly what it says, and they don't understand. We want the understanding. Remember, we say last class we talked about risk appetite. We understand what risk appetite is. That's just a word. But can you explain what the risk appetite of the bank is? Right? We good after last week? Yeah, okay, good. And we had enough examples. And so once you get your definition, get into real life examples, so you know that'll show the proof that you understand. And that's how you get points. Okay? Good? Y'all hot? Or just me? Let me check the air.
Four people seem to me.
Where were you?
I told me that I hadn't.
Okay. Around the time when
Truthfully, I don't know.
Is this the first time they did something like
I don't know. I like it.
It wouldn't do it. But again, you still
And look at the last question, on the OECD, and y'all know that CRS is something new. It's upon us right now. The first set of reporting for CRS is going to be done in July. So that means all of the banks in the Bahamas or in the world, but let's just use the Bahamas, has to send out to their customers, what they should have done by now, CRS forms. You fill it out, you identify who you are, where you live, which tax authority you are required to pay taxes to. Now in the Bahamas, again, we have the Department of Inland Revenue, but we don't pay taxes. But if we were dealing with a U.S. citizen, again, now FACTA is the same thing as CRS for U.S. persons, right? So they already had FACTA 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and so all that information went to the IRS. These are U.S. clients. This is their assets under management, and then whatever percentage the IRS said they had to pay. I don't know if they sent correspondence to the bank or to the person and said, this is what you pay, and they arrange payment, however. But normally when we are the bankers, they send us the correspondence and say, pay the IRS this amount. You know, they request a tax statement and you send that and they pay. So now in July, July, for countries around the world that sign into the different agreements, what we are gonna do is say we have clients from Panama or where's a country that we know, the Philippines. Yeah, so every client that we have from the Philippines, we are gonna say, we have these 10 clients from the Philippines, we're gonna send that information to our Department of Inland Revenue. They will then share that information with the tax authority in the Philippines. Okay, so you can imagine our Department of Inland Revenue dealing with all the banks in the Bahamas, trying to get all this information out to various countries. You can imagine what they're going through now to prepare themselves for July. So it's going to take a while because it's new. I mean, they had some practice with Factor. They seem to say that it was up and running. You all see the big building going up on Carmichael Road, and you know we have a new administration, but it's still going to take a while because it's new.
When you have to report after this year?
I'm not certain, but I know
August.
last year they did August,
yeah.
between August and October. So yeah, it'll be right after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
July, August,
Yeah.
September.
Yeah. So yeah, and then it's going to be done annually. Yeah, so it's best to, if you work in the compliance department, start to organize yourself by country so you will know, be able to send the correct information. Because I imagine each company has about 400 or 500 different relationships now, not accounts, relationships. And each relationship may have 5 currencies or 6, you never know. And so, you know, you have to be able to convert it to whatever. I guess everybody will say US dollars depending on, but I mean, I see Korea has come up in some of our files, and then Cuba, and so then what do you do? Do you convert to pesos, or do you convert to whatever, or will the Department of Inland Revenue determine what they'll accept, and then, you know, so all of that has to be figured out, and how it's going to be paid.
And all the self-certifications that need to be done and all the rest of that.
Yeah,
And
so
eventually the
by
form.
now, if
Correct.
you're gonna report in July, you should have gotten all your self-certifications, they should have been checked and vetted, because what's gonna happen is, you know, most persons have second homes. And so, I am from Switzerland, but of course my second home is in the Bahamas. And so once I buy a second home in the Bahamas, I get a residency certificate. In Switzerland, let's just say between 20 and 30% is required for taxes. So what would I can say? I'm paying the Swiss government again. This is why I have an offshore account,
Right.
so I can evade taxes. I'm not paying the Swiss government 25% of my $30 million over my dead body. So when I fill out this form, because I have an electricity bill, just to pay my power in the Bahamas, I can provide all my information on the Bahamas, right?
Right.
And so what does the relationship manager have to do when that comes in? And you know, this person has a Swiss passport. They initially had Swiss residency. Everything, because you would have seen when they announced that fact had to be reported in July last year. Everybody from Italy, they do a mass exodus. We don't live in Italy anymore. We live in Philippines. And all of a sudden, and so what do we do as relationship managers or compliance officers when this come in the bank and we see this file now? Everything was Swiss up until a year ago, and now it's a Bahamas. What do you do? These people do indeed have a second home, but where do they live? Where do they work? What do they do? Anybody can tell me how do we determine what is true and correct? Or do we just take their word?
I mean, isn't it, you apply whatever the
How do we
legislation
determine?
is, right? So FATCA goes down to the indicia of US address, etc. So if they exist, then they have to report.
Yeah, and what do you call that? When you check in the indicia, what do you check? What type of
Passports.
test do you use?
All right.
What do you call it?
Due diligence?
No,
enhanced
no.
Due diligence? No.
residency test.
Oh, the residency
So each
test, okay.
country has you go on their website, in the Department of Immigration, they have a residency test.
Okay.
And so, like for instance, we back on the Philippines offer you something called a blue book.
Okay.
So one way, if I now live in the Philippines and I was in Switzerland for 30 years, you should ask, where's your blue book? Right? And if they have that, then you know that they are indeed a resident.
Okay.
So under factor, there's a calculation. If you've been in the States for 30 days, from this date to this date, doing the year, all of that, and so you actually have to sit with the client and ask, how many days were you in the United States? And guess what? You could check. I don't know if we're going to even go this far to say, well, give us a copy of your passport, because you know the immigration stamp is in there. That's kind of, yeah, that's a little out the way. But I mean, that's the real only way, unless you really feel that this customer is not telling the truth. But I mean, that'll turn the customer off. They will say, close this account. So you have to be careful. You want to maintain the relationship, but you have to abide by the law.
In those, for me personally, in those instances, I would paper trail that to the max, audit trail to the, you told the customer that this is the system. If you've made this, you assigned to, you've made this disclosure or not.
Right.
Because if the tax penalty fall down, it can't come on you guys for being negligent.
Right.
But the other thing is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. CRS does a different, does the residency, but it also does
a substantial something test. Yeah, like each country has their own thing. So you have to go on their immigration website and you'll see what determines if you are American or Korean or Filipino, whatever they call it. Right. Another thing, on the CRS, you declare. Your bank says, we do not give tax advice. Right? And then you make a declaration to say, this information is true and correct. And I will give the correct information to the IRS. So don't let that be your battle. You shouldn't see any penalties unless, like, it's blatant that this person live in Switzerland, paid no bill from the Bahamas, no bill from nowhere else, and they saying we from the Philippines because we know that the tax rates are lower. And that's what you could do. You could probably do a spreadsheet, because you would know the countries, you would know that I have 500 clients and they are from these 10 countries. This is what the tax rate is in these 10 countries, right? And so then you will see, okay, Canada, you pay from 20 to 35%, and all of these in wealth management now, of course, they're at the high end of the tax rate because these wealthy persons. So why would this person not say, I'm from Canada? Because he can pay 35%. How did he just switch over to the Bahamas or somewhere which was the tax haven, and then that should help you determine automatically, okay, is there sufficient information on this file to confirm that he is from this lower tax paying jurisdiction? Yeah. But trust me, the client came to a tax haven to do what? Okay, so you will see there's going to be a lot of pushback. There's going to be a lot of persons that don't sign and they just mass exodus. No, I came here so I can evade taxes. If I have to pay the tax, I might as well keep my money at home. So banks are going to have to look at their fee scheduling to remain competitive. Because if now, no matter where my money is in the world, I have to still pay this tax, why do I need to be here in the Bahamas? Send my $10 million back home. Right? Okay, so think of as look at it in a holistic view. We want to save the clientele. We want to not break the law, but these people are here. This is why we are short. This is why they are here.
Yeah, the client comes once, he was trying to get his pension, he was Swiss or something, but he had to prove that he was here for the purposes of, so NIB, work permit, passport, job letter, all of that I certified for him, but without that, it wouldn't have been satisfactory for the authorities and Switzerland. So.
Yeah, so again, remember now how this started. The fact it started because Obama said, before I borrow another dollar from the Chinese, and I have to bow to them, I will fix my tax system in my country. And so he said, fine, if you all want to be in those offshore jurisdictions, but the money is going to have to come back home, because we have a big deficit that needs to be paid every year, and so therefore we need that money back home. And so that's how you avoid borrowing. So much money that is, you know. And so therefore Europe needs to do this. Look at America not having to borrow as much as they did from the Chinese, or you know, whatever, because it's a power thing.
Yeah.
When you owe me, you bow to me, right?
For sure.
Especially when you can't pay. And even countries, think about, you have a loan payment at least once or twice a year. You say, well, school fees due, or this happened, or Christmas coming, I can't pay this month. What you do? You go and you ask the bank, please, I've waived a payment. Same concept. But the only thing, when you're dealing with millions of dollars and billionaires, when you say, please, they say, sure. You don't even have to pay this much, but I need 500 Chinese to come and live in your country for 1 year on a project, because our prisons are full. So instead of sending them to prison, we can give them 5 years of hard labor, and we can send them to build Bahama. And we can send them to build a stadium. You all know that's what happened, right?
Yeah. And they free.
And there you go. But their punishment is the hard labor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it works. And that's how you have to negotiate, you have to do different things to make your country survive or stay, not completely go bankrupt like Greece.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's what happens. It's clear as mud?
Yeah. Ms. Mola, she got the 8 questions on the exam.
How did she?
Found the 8.
No, she didn't give me all the questions. I took
Oh,
up some,
she
that's
got-
why you would see
Oh.
one go to 4 and then to 6 and to 8, yeah. So I said, I promised to give something, so I brought something, so at least you would have an idea. Yeah, so all 8 isn't there.
Ms. Bullock, how substantive or reliant should be on the 40 recommendations and the interpretation of
What do
it
you
for the
mean?
exam? Do we need to have
The 40 recommendations at the back of the book. You can't remember 40 recommendations. There's the recommendation for customer due diligence. Why I want to say is, for some reason I feel like it's recommendation 12 and recommendation 22. I could be wrong. I don't even know. Right? Again, you have to go and do some research. So what you do is for the question on customer due diligence, you go and read that recommendations that's related to it. So let's look at last class when we talked about risk appetite. If you could answer the question on compliance systems, if there is one, it says FATF recommendation 1. So you go to the back of the book and you see what FATF recommendation 1 says. Because again, from these recommendations, we would have written it into law. And then central bank would have put guidelines, securities commissions would have put guidelines. So this is what you do. I think more than likely there's going to be a question on compliance systems, so therefore let me see how I can summarize recommendation 1. I will quote that. Let me go to a central bank guidelines and see what they say, and I will summarize that. And so that's the meat now for my answer on compliance systems. Right? So that's what you do, you just match it up. But there's a recommendation and whatever, a recommendation, the IMF say this, central bank say that, whatever, for each section. You just have to match it up.
so A answer would reflect all of those?
Pardon?
An A answer
Yeah,
reflect all
yeah,
of those?
yeah. Just understand how you tie it together. Right?
Thank you.
Is that clear? No, if you have more questions, go ahead. I just want to make sure that you fully understand it.
What about the interpretative notes?
What about them?
You use them as well?
Like I say, if you look at it, and you can explain it using that, then by all means use it. We only want to know you know how to tie it in. Where did this come from? Where did these laws and acts come from? They didn't fall out of the sky, right? So September 11 happened, not September 11, sorry. Back in 2000 when we got blacklisted, they created all these laws to come off the blacklist, right? And then September 11 happened, and then they added all the terrorism ones to it as well, like that, right? So before it was just money laundering and what have you, and then it developed. At least they had mentioned it, but then after September 11, then they said, listen, how are these people surviving? what are they, where is this money coming from? How does, remember I talked about, if I lose my job today, I could go live with my mother for 1 week and then she asks me, when you leave it? With my children. But Bin Laden survived for 10 years. How? Who paid? He didn't have a job. And even think about if you have a savings, you deplete that. You live in lavishly with 10 people that you providing for. So that have to be how big your network is. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. So that have to be how big your network is, right? Somebody and you need insulin every day. Think about how expensive medication is. And he wasn't showing up to the government clinic and saying, I'm Bin Laden. I come for my insulin. Think about it. So he wasn't getting pensioners discount. So how, you think about how did he do it? How did he do it? You think the money he had saved lasts for 10 years? Because I need to know his budget and his savings plan and his strategy. Think about it.
Will all of the questions have the same apportionment of point marks, etc.? Will it be equal in that way, or?
Yeah, it should. Each one should have 10 points, and then if you look at question 1, there's a bonus.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Got you.
So let's see if after this class we should be able to, answer the bonus. And if you go online, if you're reading the newspaper every day and you're doing some research based on what you see in the newspaper, and we know that CRS is very prevalent right now, so you go and see what the newspaper clipping is. If you could say that we are back, the Bahamas country is back on the back list because of A, B, and C, and we signed into the agreement in December 2017 and blah, 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 a lot of points. Because that's current and you understand how to tie, the class to what's currently happening in your country. Right? So everybody knows that right now, right? And everybody knows that we have to report in July. Right? So it says, discuss tax evasion, discuss tax avoidance, and at least 4 different taxes. So try to answer that question. Go online, do some research, use the book, and answer that question. And look up what recommendation or what have you is tied to that. Look at what the Bahamas agreement says that they'll do. You don't have to read the whole thing because these things are like 100 pages and stuff. Go to the summary section. What does it say? What does the Bahamas say? What will we do? How will we comply? Right? And then in July, what will happen? Right now, we're sending out forms, or we should have done from last year, asking these persons where they live and where they are reportable. When that comes back in, we know that in this jurisdiction, that persons came here because they wanted to evade taxes. Therefore, we must do proper due diligence. We must check that form, and we must know for sure that you didn't just change your residency last week or last year when CRS came on. How will we know? There are residency tests for different jurisdictions. Where do you find this residency test? Under the immigration laws of each specific country. What will you do? I will divide my clients into countries, and I will find a residency test for each country, and as they come in, you have to do an in-depth review right now, and every other year it should be fine. And you will have some mistakes or errors. This is the first time. And then when you're dealing with 500 different relationships, you have to know your client, and again, it's not compliance job to know your client. So that initial check should be done by the RM, who's supposed to have that white glove, offering that white glove service, and I know who these people are. So typically our RMs should have 50 to 100 accounts depending on complexity. So if you have a large account that does 50 transactions a day, and they have 50 accounts tied to it, that RM would probably have that very large account and then 40 other small ones. Then depending on your level in the company, the senior account officers or the senior RM should have all the high risk because they require a higher level of knowledge and monitoring, right? And so because all of these accounts are high risk, I will only give you 50 because these will require more. And then the PEPs, right? So this is how you have to structure your company, and so people will know exactly who these, I know Miss Bullard, she works here, she does this type of transaction, so you could be aware, but you have to know. So persons who are showing up and say, well, how are you supposed to know 400 clients? No, you're not supposed to know 400, but at least 50. When we call out that name, you should be able to say, oh yeah, this is outside of what she normally does. You should be able to go to the file and pull in and say, she said that she would only do 2 transactions a month for less than 50,000. When I look in the system, she done do 10 for the month. She up to 3 million. You should have gotten a flag, eh? You should then say, okay, you need to call in and find out exactly what is happening. You have to talk to your clients daily. You have to build a relationship. And so you have to take them to lunch. You have to say happy birthday. You have to say, so it don't always seems like every time I call you, it's for a compliance issue. No, you actually have to build a relationship. Years ago, Royal Bank made us wear our name tags. And not no Miss Bullet or whatever. They wanted the customers to come in and say, hey, Tiff, what's up? And they pushed that and they said, this is our new strategy, relationship building. You're supposed to be hanging with these people on the weekend, in the clubs and different stuff. That's what relationship management is. If I trust you and you are my friend, I can give you my money because I trust you. But with all these banks closing out and all this fraud, all these Ponzi schemes going on, think about if you had $1 million, who would you be most comfortable giving it to? Somebody you trust. Because we're talking about millions of dollars. Right? And so that's how it works. It don't work because you have the best platform, and I'll say they're most competitive, they have a better rate, however, the service, when I pick up the phone, Erin always available, she answers right away. When I need this, she could be on vacation and I can call her, I have a cell number. If the market drop, I can call her and she understands. Because she would have read, she would have been away, or she'd say, let me go do some research and call you back, and guess what? She calls me back. Because a lot of people say, yeah, they take your call, but then that's it. So that's the type of people that you want to do business with when you don't even have $1 million. When I talk to my bank, I say, because when I have this $1 million, now I come into you, right? One day I can have it, and it could be you. You could get those sales points, you could get that commission off my $1 million. That's how it works. Okay, so if you don't want to befriend these people, if you don't want to know who they are, if you don't, on our form we ask, who are your children and how old are they? Never to be looked back at again, just to be in a file. Yeah, but why you need to know who my children is and how old they is? If you could never say, how's Billy doing, or, I noticed that Sharon is in golf and she won the whatever. That's why you pay attention, because when your client daughter just win the golf, whatever you call and say, congratulations.
See them as a face.
Yeah, see them as an actual person, not just I need your money and that's it. Because once that money on deposit, the bank invests in that. And that's how your salary is paid. I had a client who had racehorses. 1 year, he was, again, these very wealthy persons, they hate the government and they hate insurance companies because they say they are all thieves, right? And so Van Royal was a $5 million horse. And he had called the year before and he said, I'm not going to pay those thieves. I'm not going to pay that insurance. The insurance was $220,000. He said, hell no. I'm not paying that this year. I would say that was October, November. Van Royal died in January. $5 million horse. Dead. And he did not pay $220,000 for that insurance, so he could get his $5 million back. Okay? We had to send flowers. When he came to Freeport, we had to fly and go and take him to lunch. He was one of our biggest clients, and I love him, he cried.
For sure.
He cried, not because he loved that horse, because $5 million. But that was the type of person he was. Very, very cheap. And so we could dare not say, we coming to Freeport on your expense. No, we had to pay the Freeport, we had to send flowers. Somebody was even gonna attend the funeral. But he was so pissed, he was like, he didn't even go in, because he lost $5 million. Like, this whole thing was this money.
But that ain't cheap though.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
No man, these people, they wealthy, get wealthy because they watch every red
yes,
cent.
they do. They do.
So for him, that was a massive
Yes,
investment.
yes.
Right.
And when we looked at his bill, he left his money to his kids when they turned 65. Yes, he do. But so you have to know this type of. You have to know this man. Listen, he have a lot of money, but he cheap. Don't ask for that. Don't suggest that you go. When we go to dinner with him, you think he ever pull up? Like our other clients, they'll say, "Oh, when I come to town, I'll take you to the great place. They make Great Cliff, or we'll go to the Atlantis or something like that." They always pay it. They bring us gifts at Christmas, but here,
He ain't paying.
you dare? What?
They say, well,
I didn't know.
don't
He
even
said,
get
"How much
that.
is this? How much is that?" He ain't paying. He just want to know.
He went.
You know? Yes.
Oh, yeah,
So,
he cheap then.
like I tell you, Saul Carson is the same way.
Yeah.
Saul Carson most of the time have on old, dirty, very tattered clothes. But you have 10 men in the back of you. They have on Gucci cufflinks. They have on suits. They have on, you know.
Mr.
The best of the
His father
best.
was like that. Minister, no,
This
his
is
father
how you-
used to drive on breakdown car.
Yep. But see, we flashy because we have to wear Gucci across this, and we have to let everybody know we have money. When you have money, you are so afraid that you could get robbed. You want to disguise yourself. But that's how you always tell the people who are broke. The big rims, the loud music, everybody must see me. This Gucci. Yeah, big 10 chains, not 2, 10. Yeah. Okay? Gold teeth. I rich. No, you ain't. That person who put them gold teeth and them Gucci rich.
Yeah.
And that tire place for the low profile and the rim rich. Right? So, different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay. I don't know how we get paid here.
We
But just to understand
covered a lot. Yeah.
building relationship with your client, know who these people are. Know who, even in the retail bank, I was at Finco Robinson Road, and all the rich people came to me. So when I went to Royal Bank Trust, I was able to say, listen, you shouldn't be, I ain't there no more. You have to come. They came. And they paid $3,000 a month just for us to keep their money and various different fees, and they never complained. You know why? Because I had built a relationship for them, and I brought them from Robinson Road to Life for Key.
Yeah.
And they thought I did something, and I didn't. I was so thankful for those sale points. I was so thankful that I got a bonus when they opened those accounts. But that's how you build relationships. So start to look for the very influential. I mean, treat everybody the same. Because we had a lot of straw vendors and they had a lot of money.
You're right. Right, they do.
But they ain't coming like for key.
Mm-mm.
But still, they can bring Miss Bullet once you're here, you know, and they follow you wherever you go. So that's why you need to build a relationship. Because when you start a new job, they want you to come with clients. You come with their portfolio. You don't just show up and talk about I'm Miss Bullet. No. How are you gonna make this bank more profitable? How much money you bring?
Yeah, when they talk about networking, your mind always thinks that you mean like going places and meetings. No, they mean who can you call in this instance, or who do you know who has this, and that's
Right.
what they want to know.
Yep.
What's your network?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they'll hire you or not hire you as a result of that.
Right.
And then your attitude is actually right too. You're grateful, like you say, for the bonus. You weren't
Mhm.
expecting it, and that's why you probably
Yeah.
get more bonus.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So think about it. Morning. Right in time to read for us. Excellent. We're so glad you're here. No, so where did we stop with the reading? Oh, yeah, that is you. Catch yourself. Catch yourself. James, you read last week? You read? Yes, you read? Okay. Let's switch.
Yes, ma'am. Chapter 6,
Chapter 6.
risk-based due diligence, customer due diligence.
So this should help you answer, you see the bonus, what documents are missing for customer due diligence. Let's go.
Customer due diligence is required when a company assigns a potential customer or conducts an occasional one-off transaction or a series of one-off transactions that, taken together, exceed the threshold.
Okay, let me just, because they're talking about one-off transactions, our central bank has a white paper out now, and so what is a white paper? I want the industry to come and comment, and so we can put this into law. Don't wait until it's into law and then say, oh no, this made no sense. So read it, this is what, start to train yourself. Read these white papers, make sure you understand, put it in your, try to test it in your business to say, does this make sense? Because that's another thing with CRS. We got the OECD form and we tested it. What issues will the client have when they fill this form out? And you should know what questions to expect. Not the first time, sorry, Miss Bullet, I didn't even look at that yet. Or I don't have no account, so I don't even know how to fill it out. That's what you can tell your client? No. So if you in that area and you in compliance, they come in to ask you. So even if the RM say that, because they probably say, you know what, let me check with compliance because I want to give you the right information. So compliance, when they reach, test the form, fill out the tax factor form. Use one of the clients as an example, and so you can answer them knowledgeably. Okay? And then there's a lot of reference to, because again, we don't give tax advice. There's a lot of reference to the OECD. They have a Q&A, they have all sorts of stuff. But at least know which direction to point them.
What's the name of the white paper from the CBB? What's it on?
It's on new account, relaxing the new accounts requirements and simplified due diligence. Okay. So just go on central bank and say consultation paper, okay, and then it'll come right up. There's 2 of them that's there. I saw it the other day. Yeah, and look at it, and if you have valid feedback, because you know what it is, because it's easy to write a regulation or put a guideline in place, but did you test it? Can this work in real life? So give some advice, and that should be your common practice, because there will be industry briefings, industry updates, and whatever. Look out for these things. When yesterday the Attorney General had a meeting on the new act that's coming out, multinational, yeah, right. So we should be there. You should be there to listen and get some feedback and take it to your company, and then when they put out the paper for consultation, submit something or at least be aware. Because you have to stay abreast of what's happening in your industry. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
It is also...
Sorry, because they one-off. They talked about one-off transactions where they were asking for due diligence on credit card payments. So they put a threshold. They say any credit card payment under $500, don't say that the person have to have a passport or if the credit card limit is $500 or less, something to that effect. No, we don't need your passport and your proof of address, or they could bring it in and you could look at it and you could go, something like that. So they put a threshold in place, because I imagine the credit card centers were complaining and saying, my God, 90% of our persons, because they're like government employees, have these $500 credit cards. Do we truly, and this is the only business they have with us, do we truly have to verify them? So, right, that's how I got to the one-off thing. Yeah.
Continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. It is also required where there is a suspicion of money laundering or terrorist financing, or the company has doubts about the veracity or adequacy of previously obtained customer identification documentation. A customer is a parties with whom a business relationship is established, one-off or professional or commercial, for a duration. This means that customer due diligence is required where there are no business relationship or business relationship is established and there are no transactions. Customer due diligence is carried out by a company for many reasons. The customer is representing others, to assess the legitimacy of the assets to be used in the relationship, to comply with legislation and regulation, to be reasonably certain that the customer is who he says he is, to guard against fraud, and enables a company to assess the extent to which a customer exposes the company to a range of interrelated risks. The central bank AML CTF guidelines requires the following to verify the identity of natural customers. 1. Full and correct names used. 2. Correct permanent address, including postcode if appropriate. 3, date and place of birth and purpose of the account and the nature of the business relationship. Additionally, the following information may also be required when companies seek to verify identity: nationality, occupation and name of employer, if self-employed, the nature of the self-employment, estimated level of account activity, including size in the case of investment and custody accounts, balance ranges in the case of current and deposit accounts, and an indication of the expected transaction volume of the account and source of funds.
Okay, so what do we normally require to verify full and correct name? Officer? Passport, okay, good. And, so my passport expired, can we accept that?
No, ma'am.
No? Okay, so how long, once it's expired, we don't accept it at all?
Oh, not from what I see.
Not at all. Okay, what about, permanent address?
A bill
Yeah, but how
or
old?
voter's card.
6 months.
6 months.
6 months? Okay,
Or less.
6 months.
6
No more than 6 months.
no more than 6 months, so 6 months is like the standard.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Date and place of birth, where we get that from?
Birth certificate.
Suppose I have a citizenship card.
Birth certificate.
No, I just asking you, what do
Give
you
you an
do?
identity card.
Okay, so what is my nationality? I have Bahamian citizenship and I have a Swiss passport. What's my nationality? Why?
You say you have a Bahamian passport and a Swiss. Would you say that again? You have a what?
You have a Swiss
Passport
passport,
and
Bahamian
Bahamian
citizenship.
Bahamas citizenship.
Citizenship, yeah.
You don't have to speak.
What's the difference? And that's the problem. What is the difference? What is nationality? What is citizenship?
Nationality is where you were born.
Where you were born.
Citizenship is where you
Where you reside.
Yeah, you
Okay,
reside.
and that's one of the biggest mistakes in the banks right now. And again, with this tax evasion, you will see when you go back in your files, is where you are born. And in some cases, it ain't only a citizenship card because persons have dual citizenship, right? And so when you look at that passport, don't just say, oh, yeah, that person have a Bahamian passport. No, go and look and see where place of birth is.
Yeah.
That's your nationality, where you were born. Okay, so look out for that because a lot of files that when we audited and we looked through, almost everyone was wrong. Okay, and where persons had dual citizenship, it wasn't identified. And when you have dual citizenship on your risk rating, that should ring a bell as a high risk. Would you have? Because more than likely you have that because that next tax jurisdiction has lower, a lower tax rate or what have you. Okay, so look out for stuff like that. And some people say, oh, nationality and citizenship is the same. No, it isn't. Okay, and now that CRS coming along, we have to delve deeper into our files to make sure we actually know who these people are. Okay? Estimated level of account activity, size, balance. Why we need to know that? Why we need to know how much money I bring in? You want me to bring as much money as possible, right?
Activity.
But you need to have an idea of what, so you can know when something is off. Or when it's
Be
too much.
expected.
Yes,
This is when
you
you
gotta
tell me
have
that it's
standards.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
And another thing that we did at Royal Bank, if you are 10 million or more, we want to give you that extra. So we making sure you go to our right senior relationship manager. Everybody over 10. Even, we give everybody the same service, but those persons, we want to make sure the right attitude person with you and they dealing with you correctly. So we always made those persons high risk just because we wanted them to be monitored more to ensure that we giving them that white glove service. So it's not that the more money you bring in, it's riskier. But Royal's Bank's methodology was, hey, we want to keep these people monitored continuously. We want a lot of checks and balances done on them to make sure they're getting the right service. We don't want 10 million walking out the door. Right. So that's how we use that. But for anti-money laundering purposes, so we want to know the size, we want to know who we dealing with. And we want to know, you used to work to sell peanuts for how long? For the last 10 years. And now you're bringing us $10 million. How? Red flag? Yeah, so we again, we want to know source of wealth. So remember, source of income is simplified due diligence. Source of wealth is enhanced due diligence. So that was another reason why we say, you bring us 10 million, we make you high risk, because now we want to ask you where you get this money from, and we want to verify that you should have $10 million. And you can't just say, but, you know how if you go on the internet and you read about Ismarillion, they say that they made their money from peanuts.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, go read it up. That's what it says. That's where they get their millions from.
Selling peanuts?
Selling
Yeah,
peanuts.
the farm.
Farm. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a little different. That's more commercial than. But,
If you say so.
we're talking about the fellow on the road and between the cars and say dollar for the bag.
No, you know why you say it's a little different? Because our
Mindset.
mentality say the man on the road can't make that, but he could, because he in a different category.
I challenge that because we talk about a commercial enterprise as opposed to like a retail, if you will.
Is he selling, distributing those peanuts to the world?
I know, that's why I'm asking you. What was he doing?
I read, go online and read it, and you tell me if at the end of the story you believe that it was only peanuts, because his father has a lot of money laundering cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, my mind is open. So I apologize
Yeah.
if I jumped too deep.
Yeah, no, but think about it. Me was never, the man on the road stopped immediately,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What? Who did the Ponzi scheme for how much years? What's the guy who just made off?
Benny Murdoch.
Yeah, because of this
Yeah.
and how influential he was, and of course he would never do something like that.
Yeah.
But would we trust in him based on?
Reputation.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so check all these people. Don't say, oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, right. No, they are the ones who manipulate the system. They are the ones who have the hackers on staff. They are the ones who, every time these laws come out, and that was one of the points that the lady made yesterday, don't put brief the industry first. And then let's give our consultation. And then send it out to the public. Because we're dealing with millionaires. They have staff. They have a hacker on staff. Immediately, they go, what should I say? They go leverage off our ignorance, first of all, and the time the government is taking to do anything. And so by the time it's implemented into law, which is December 2018, they don't have their infrastructure. They don't know how to combat this bill and beat the system and get this money in the system. They don't know how to manipulate it, and we just learn it. So speak to the industry. Don't publicize everything first. And so Brent Seminet got up and said, well, you see that person over there? This is done, this meeting itself is done out in the world. They say, yeah, but let it go out one video at a time. He said the hackers could be in the room. Yeah, fine. But let it be as difficult as it is for us to get this information for them. Don't put everything out there first and then say, let's talk to the industry and let them know that they have to put these systems in place. Because the hackers know which systems need to be put in place and they can circumvent the system.
For sure.
So give us at least, and they way smarter than us because they sit in the room all day long, so.
That's their business.
Yeah, that's their job. Right. So again, when you go to these industry meetings, find out too, how far ahead is the world? How do I need to run? Like CRS, you should be running at this point. Yes.
That's
Yes.
what the Egmont, the reports that come out of the Egmont group and things of that nature, I think are interesting because they all talk about mutual legal assistance treaties that are not as far ahead as the criminals are yet. And so by the time they actually get there, the money's gone, the thing is gone, whatever.
Yeah. We don't even know yet that they done defraud the system.
Precisely. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so what do we do just so we can stay abreast? The Cayman Monetary Authority seems to be up to date. They were very proactive. We are very reactive. So anytime you're looking for advice or a law or what they do in Cayman, around the world, we normally copy Cayman, the Netherlands, and BVI. So for this M&E bill now that's coming out, they say they copied BVI because Cayman had a lot of exceptions in there. And so don't be afraid, go right online. Just how we have Central Bank of the Bahamas, and we always refer to that. Refer to the Cayman Monetary Authority, and they seem to think Luxembourg is the hub too. Luxembourg have all these laws in place, but it'll be different, you know, a lot of determination as to if it's relevant to our jurisdiction. So, you know, you could use that as a base, but stick to the Cayman and the BVI. More than likely, I want to be exact.
Got you.
Yeah. Okay, so size in case of investment and custody accounts, balance ranges. What questions do we ask up front? How do we make this determination?
What's your expected income? What's your expected income per month? And what's your level of activity cash? How much you expect coming in monthly? Your outflow?
Her frequency.
Frequency is coming in.
And what do we do with this information? Why we need to know?
So we can monitor the system. When we would place in the system, just say their activity is 1 million. We would place a threshold to say, okay, for this account, they have a threshold. Well, we have threshold, so 1 million is this threshold. So if this account has 3 million coming in, then an alert will kick in to say, you know, this account is over its threshold or without its activity.
Okay.
And then you would have to further investigate and justify the means of which.
Okay. So that means up front we have to ask the right question.
Yeah.
Because if we don't ask the right question, then we don't have an alert. And I've seen cases where we haven't asked the right question. Or we are an offshore jurisdiction and we have commercial rates. Are you going to do $0 to $50 a month? 0 to 20,000, 0 to, you know. Royal Bank says to open up an account with the wealth management section is $250,000, right? So your first deposit coming in, if my thresholds are from 0 to 100,000, your first deposit coming in, and every deposit come in, go have a hit. Every dollar you send out, go have a hit. And so what happen if one customer having a hit for every transaction? Could you imagine? And they doing 30 transactions a month. So it's very important to have the correct thresholds for whether you are commercial or if you're offshore. If you're offshore and your minimum is 250, at minimum, you have to say 0 to 2 to 500,000 have to be your first category. Y'all understanding me?
Yeah.
Y'all know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then if there's a bank account for a bank, let's say Scotiabank opening an account with Fidelity, right, to send all their wires to do correspondent banking. When you ask them how many wires I can send them on, and they say maybe 100, and they select between 0 and 2 transactions. That means every second wire, and they send in 100, you will get a red flag. And all these red flags come into compliance, and you have to go and do an investigation. You have to call and say, who this wire going to, why this happened, you gotta get the economic reason and stuff like that. So very crucial. People don't understand how to put this, to document this properly, to ask clients the right questions. Make sure your frequency makes sense. Make sure your thresholds and your ranges make sense. And then when they come in, if you are responsible to sign off on that account, look at what they choose. This is a bank. The RMs want all the accounts to be low and medium. Why? Less monitoring, less reporting. So they select this for the client. They don't explain to the clients what this is. Some of them is just say, I can follow this part for you, you just sign.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and then all these transactions keep coming in, and you got to check in.
Now you have a whole job just
Yeah.
on hits.
Yeah.
On hits.
But can you change the level though?
A customer signs that. How do you take this customer to court without that signature? You see what I mean? The client can say, I never said that that's how much money I was sending in. The bank selects that for me. So that's another point. That's not an option that the bank selects. That's a form that's signed by the client. This is how much money I'm gonna send in. and this is the frequency. And this is what I can do monthly. Let them sign for that, because that's a document that you could say, they can say, how did you, was this a fishing expedition? Did you just know that I am the white major, and when you hear that name, you automatically think that I'm a criminal? And these are the different tech, use a lawyer, right? They come up and say the bank was on a witch hunt, right? They say all sorts of stuff, you know? The bank intentionally selected the lowest field so they could get hits, and so, you know what I mean? So therefore you let them, you ask the right question and you let them sign. Because again, why you even have this in place? Why are you even monitoring this? This is the only way to determine if it's an unusual or suspicious transaction. Because it's outside of the client's profile. Right? Other than that, you named the white major, and the white major is a career criminal. Or that's my sister baby daddy, and he treated us so bad. He going to jail. We couldn't get him that way, we get him this way. All sorts of foolishness. Right? So the customer has to sign. What you need to do to make your life easier, because again, we have 500 accounts. Some of us have 1,000, some of us have 15,000. When that come across your desk for you to sign, you have to say, this is a commercial bank, they send in wires. They can send 2 wires every month. That's why they open up this account for $50,000. No, that's incorrect. Send it back, because you getting all those hits, right? And you have to clear all of them. And each one of them is a phone call, or I need a copy of the wire, I need the economic reason, I need the this. So don't create an administrative nightmare, and that's what happens in compliance when you don't understand, because that's what happened when I went into a new company. I didn't understand how their process worked. And nobody could explain it to me because they didn't even ask the right question. And so it took me 3 months to find out that they did not ask the right question. So now you have to make an educated decision that this is a bank. I am not going to write them up, or I'm not going to go through all these hits for $50,000. But when audit comes in, what do you tell audit? Because they now want to see the transactional all hits. And how did you clear these hits? How do you explain that? That means ask the right question. All the RMs select low so they can have less work. How do you say this to audit, right? So make sure you pick these things up. Because it happens in real life. This is what happens in real life. Man, you know, if we make that high risk, we got to send that to the AML committee. That could take so long, this customer have to open up today. Do it, but know what you could be up against. Right? You always get that, or no? Everybody looks so sad.
Ain't coming from that industry. That's on my perspective, but it's understood. But it feels to me like you pick your poison. There is going to be poison no matter what.
Yeah.
But you got to pick the one that's going to be least devastating to your body.
Yeah, and you must have an awareness.
Right. When I say body, I mean metaphorically.
Yeah.
But,
you must have awareness of this. You know, this how there's a loophole in the question that my bank asked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the RMs do.
Yeah.
There's the awareness. See, because what happens is when audit writes their report, they say the compliance program is not effective and the compliance officer is not aware. You know what that means?
Is that on you?
Okay. And this is how, you know, I know somebody is very smart and very aware and they've done nothing about it. And so, you know what happened to them?
Yep.
Okay, so don't let other people cause you to lose your job. Because again, you have to be approved by the Securities Commission, approved by Central Bank. And Central Bank is now compiling a list of past compliance officers where banks have failed and they can no longer be hired as compliance officers. Yes. Yeah, so they now have a list.
Wow.
Yeah, so a Deltec Bank can hire you. And they have to apply for you to be the compliance officer, and Central Bank says no. This bank failed, that bank failed. in the audit, the person was negligent, we recommended that they be fired. So now you spend all this money to certify yourself, and you can't even, you have to go be the operations manager hopefully or something at a not senior level that has to be approved. And trust me, once central bank says no, even if that's your cousin, it'll be hard for them to put you in another position that he paying half of the salary that you was gonna make.
Burn.
Yeah. So don't waste your time. Okay, you must be aware, you must have all these things documented, and don't just talk about it. Do
Right.
something about it. When you start to document, listen, this is the issue, it needs to be fixed. And it ain't your job to fix it. It's your job to push on that manager and say, this falls under your department, get this fixed. Your timeline, I give you 3 months to get it fixed.
I would think that they I call them reports, but reporting to the board of directors would also be an integral part of that, because they have a duty as directors to act in the best interest of the company, etc. And if you are apprising them of these things and doing it, your audit trail is tight.
But are you doing that when you have 500 accounts and CRS upon you and you don't know how? We have to send this out to the client now. How do we never ask the right question. How do we send this additional form out and say, clients, please fill this part out?
Yeah, that's the part I don't get the most.
The
time constraints.
Yeah.
I don't know how y'all do that. To be honest with you, I
It
feel
has
like,
to be done, so you do it.
I feel like a lot of things. I think that creates a culture where a lot of things can fall through the cracks.
And a lot of things too. A lot of things too. And then you end up with a mess and central bank on your door. And most of the time they just could recommend that you get home, go home. Yeah.
Right.
And then sometimes it's so bad the bank, they threaten that the bank will be shut down. But you can't just look at it and say, oh my God, look at this whole book. You have to say, listen, we gotta fix it. It has to be done. And then it has to be managed properly when it comes in, because it wasn't managed properly the first time. First of all, nobody identified this issue and nobody did anything about it. So here I am now with another deadline on my back, and I constantly pushing and saying, no, fix it. And this affects 500 people.
If I make, what do you identify then, as in your practical experience, is the most important, out of all of the important aspects, the most important aspect to deal with that type of challenge? Whereby, to be more specific, you have these, you need to create the audit trail to protect yourself from regulatory and the banks. But you also need to pump out these accounts and, onboard, whatever it may be.
So there has to be a balance. You have sales and you have admin.
Okay.
Sales persons, they need that business. That a lot of times sales people aren't paid, they work on commission. So they don't care, I need to get this client. You have to have that pushback person to say, once the account opens, send it to me. I will do the second layer where I will either, through you, get this documentation from the client and vet it, or I'll do it for you. Expecting that salesperson, because these people don't want to think about it. When you go into Royal, you don't want, well, you need this for, and which you know what I mean? And I don't have this, I live with my mother. I now need to go to my mother to let her write a letter to say I live with her. Come on. They relax in that too. That white paper probably done passed. Relax in the need for proof of address. When you say you live with your mother, okay, fine, you live with your mother. Okay? And so this is the type of, it's a competitive world. But everywhere in the world, you have to do the same thing, thank God. Because, they say, I just go into JP Morgan because it's easier to do business. So that salesperson get the business and they buttering you up, they doing the lunches and the dinners, they seeing out here. They come into your daughter's golf game. Have that, now you have to deal with the administration. Don't say it compliance because it's not a compliance function. That admin person should be responsible to do the balances and checks, and they'll cush you up. We need this to protect you because there's so much fraud. If we have the proper address, if we have the proper, this will be a check. Because you know, every time we send in a transaction, we're gonna do a call back, so we need the right number. We need that cell phone. You know, you explain it because, and they can say, because this person didn't do a call back and we lost 157. That there are a lot of examples out there. So it's just using the right terminology and saying, this is tedious, and you shouldn't have to go through this empathy. And that's why I'm gonna do this for you, and to make sure, you know, you're not susceptible to fraud. You know, there are different things, but just to say, I have to get, the salesperson can say, I have to get this business. I am not asking for this, I am not asking for that. And that's how they are. You know, they will work with the client. They will get this in. These 10 forms are required, but I let you fill out 5. You know, they cutting deals. Because that's how the business is. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So you need that second person in there, that checker. And then that person, that first person acts as the preparer. And then that second person is the verifier or the checker. But in most cases, we have the checker checking the checker.
Right.
And you deal them with 50 pages. This is what you have to check, because our thing is 37 pages. I don't know what you're getting in. 37 pages. 5 different players. So many different things are required. And we are finding that a lot of our RMs, even though there's a checklist to go by, they don't even know what the registered agent certificate is, or they don't know what to ask for, or they don't think it's necessary. No, compliance just wants, you know what I mean? And so they say, and they've been telling the client, compliance making it so difficult for us to get this business. So the culture needs to change, that compliance is everybody's business. We all on the same team. We need this information because we want this account to function properly. So it shouldn't be a, man, it's compliance. I agree with you. We don't need this. No, this is needed around the world. I have to get this from you, and then there should be this minimized. This the amount of fraud. Because I know what number to call you back on. I know what email address to expect it from. I know, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So it's the culture.
Surely, while that culture exists, you would fall more on the dealing with your compliance aspect than onboarding the client. Let the bank fire you, if anything, rather than the regulator burn you and you can't get a job in compliance anymore.
Yeah, but the bank saying, I want this account open in 1 day.
You
Once
can't
that
do
salesperson brings, because the bank again, I have a bottom line. I need that money. You see what I mean? So you have to strike a balance. Everybody have to be on the same side. I know there's some savvy things that you'll have to tell the client, but after you done win that business now, send them to me. So now they have just not a checkup. Just the person who will protect your money. And that's how you have to make the client feel. I am protecting your money. Not I telling you, God, she asked you where you born, where you come from, your whole life story. Tell her what you want. Tell her, like, we have the RM siding with the clients and against us.
Yeah.
Wrong culture.
Yeah.
All us on the same team. We need this in. This account could open in 1 day. But the proper checks and balances have to be done. And that's not happening. It coming from the sales straight to compliance. And compliance have to say the 90 things is missing and say, no, I can't open it. So then compliance had it for 1 week.
Yeah.
And compliance wouldn't open the account. And the man money coming in. And a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, change the culture
Yeah,
will completely work that over.
You have to. Compliance, we want this money coming because this would pay in our salaries. But we have to stay open too. And we have to abide by the law. So you have to strike a balance.
So what happens internally to address that culture? Like you spoke about compliance, speaking to RMs and sales and everything, and so you can be on one accord. But what is the institution doing in terms of training and things that they go off?
Again, compliance
Is the one
responsible for all the training.
Okay.
And so if the managers don't buy in, it's very hard. I work in this bank for 10 years. I never had to do this before. It's very hard to change people's habits, yeah. Very, very hard.
Gotcha.
And then you bring in new players and they intimidated. And no, that person don't fit into with this business. But this is what we need. And it goes so far, the banks are threatened that they're going to be shut down. And they have very bad audit reports to me. I show up from 9 to 5 every day to make the most money possible to get that big bonus at the end of the day. I am coming here for you to tell me I get 1,000 or 2,000 because the bank wasn't profitable and we had to spend so much money on audit and we had to spend money on this project and that project and that project. No. I come in because at the end of the day, I want $10,000 bonus. I want a big salary. I want this, and I can give you quality when I reach. But again, I am not an island. I need everybody to do their part. And when you're dealing with groups of people, you have high, medium, and low. But when you're high people at a low standard, you have a problem.
Sure.
The bank will close. So think about it. These things, like I say, they pile up on you, and then it affects 500 persons, and then what do? How do you fix it? But it has to be fixed. You start with today. The naysayers and the people who don't see a vision and don't understand what you're doing, you gotta bring other people who buy it and make it happen, because you cannot do it by yourself. And you need the key people and the management have to be delivering the same message. Because where I go, and just like parents, I can't bring this before my daddy, because that's, so let me butt up my mommy, let my mommy, they could go to the person who will give them the most leeway. No, United Force, nowhere in this bank, like they say, nowhere in the world you could go and open an account, and this is not required. So nowhere in this bank, So start looking at those resumes. Are these people sufficiently educated? And sufficiently educated don't mean in 2000 you got your master's degree and you've been back to school for 17 years. Okay? That's why they are what? CPD hours. Okay? And if you have a succession plan in your company, you say you make staff fill out development plans. And in that development plan, yes, I got my master's degree in 2000, but what have I done in the last 17 years? How have I kept the rest? Go do a course. Go upgrade yourself. Go learn something new. Go bring some more value to this bank. But we have a lot of people with their high school diplomas. And then we have a lot of people who have, if you look at my resume, I have 10 different AML, compliance, my master's degree, my security 7, all these things. Not straight A for me, but we had some people who were straight A. They could do any exam, 200% they get, but they cannot put it into action. They cannot perform. So it's so many things, but again, like I say, it can be done if you have the awareness, if you have the right people, and if you push your people to keep current and upgrade themselves. If you make it competitive, you must have a rewards and recognition program in place. Because if the people, for government, there's always a sad story with the salary. What you could do to motivate these people. You have to find out what motivates you. In my next class, we used to get, I must have had 8 persons at one time, and they gave me $800 for the year. And I was like, how I get $800 for the whole year to motivate 8 people? What I could do? So I created a form. I said, what motivates you? And I gave them a list. Would you like your picture in the hallway? Would you like dinner with the managing director? Would you, You would be surprised. 3 people out that age said they wanted their picture in the hallway. Well, hallelujah.
Wow.
Listen to me. I made the bank buy some frames.
Wow.
Okay? And we put them, when it was their time for reward recognition, they was up there for like 3 months. But 1 or 2, when the customers came in, the customer said, oh, who's that? And I want to meet. And I go, sure. I run and I get them, and they was in their glory, like, I just met Mr. Atkinson and he owns oil, this and that and that. Really? Okay, good. Then the managing director, I wanted to have dinner with the managing director. Really? Okay, fine. He can pay for that. He have a bank card, so that can come. I was happy. So there's, you know what I mean? So different things motivate different people. But nobody ever asks. And then you have to have thresholds. You have to have targets. You have to say, I need $1 million. I think that's what the commercial banks are saying. $1 million worth of assets you bring in. And then you monitor that, you check them. You don't wait till December, come and say, oh, you only bring in 50,000. No, you fail. No. In March, you say, listen, you need 900,000 more. In June, you need 600,000. You have to manage this place, and that's was an absence. Yeah, so it's still be talking about that. That's a lot.
Yeah,
But it can happen because it's been done before. It's a lot, but every day we can go to work happy.
sure.
And every day we could give quality work. And one by one, when we have a project, listen, I know a company, they had project after project after project, and it's still wrong. So one day, they will wake up and realize they gotta change their place, because these projects cost overtime out the roof. We have people have 80 hours of overtime, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one person having 80 hours times 10 persons, then we gotta feed them. You know how much money that is? For it to be wrong? And we accepting it. So, that's the wrong people, you know what I mean? And so you put the human factor in there, people will work. But you would do my work and you would do it properly. I ain't paying for garbage. No.
Correct.
Before I sign them overtime sheet, I check. Let me do a test on this spreadsheet to see if, you know what I mean? I come over 3 or 4 hours. You don't go with, y'all gotta do that over. I'm sorry. I sorry. I can body you up in another way, but I don't pay when you do it wrong.
The incentivization schemes are there, so that's good. I mean, TOPS compliance, the 80,000 and up, you know, that's something to work for. Earn your keep, so to speak, and the growth, you know, charts. I mean, possibilities for younger persons. So no reason why you shouldn't work out or do it right or get it better.
But that's what I say. But whenever there's a group, we don't live in perfect now.
Yeah.
You have high, medium, and low.
Right.
But when your high people are way below standard, you have a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you don't have enough high persons, then you know you have a problem. So it's awareness and culture.
Well, I think it's. I mean, they're being forced to. I'll give them that. But all the banks are, I think, changing a little bit. Every day there's advertisements for compliance officer, this, you know, head, senior, whatever. Because now they see the necessity.
Yeah.
So they're trying to build now what used to be a one or maybe 2-person department.
Right.
Which isn't enough.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's the beginning of change in the culture.
Hopefully. And again, like I say, it's very comprehensive, and you always have to do research, and just so you don't be bogged down and overwhelmed every day and saying, "Oh God," because when you, to me, when I in my "Oh God" mood, which I was this week, I'm not productive. I show enough, but I am not productive. You know, so I need to come to work every day happy and content to a certain point to say I don't dread this job, because trust me, I can't read. In my mind, I say discombobulated. I can't.
And attention to detail is the focus is
you
not
go. Right. So productivity. I read an article the other day where they said presenteeism is more expensive than absenteeism.
That's true.
You all believe that?
Yeah, man.
Because I come into work because I have to. But I have to whilst my child in the hospital. All day long I call in the hospital. All day long I worried. I thinking about all the things, you know.
Yeah.
My neighbor died this week. All day long I thinking about my neighbor who said he just had a stomachache. I tried to do a lot of work. My manager might see this. Of course I did all the work I could do. Yeah, but I just say it.
Yeah.
So this is why you don't overwhelm your employees. You do. That's how we are required to know your clients, colleague care, know your staff. I hope she watched this part. Know what they know for you. Know what they need and how they feel. You know, and it's different type of people. and they try to, because I'm plus size, I understand that one size does not fit all. Anybody else understand? You know what I mean? Yes. And so we live our life so frustrated because we go and we buy this pantyhose and this stockings or this tights, it don't fit. So these old ways of, like I say, back in the day, I's the boss. This is the way to do it. Today we should have a coach. We should have a mentor. You want white glove service to your client? Give me white glove service. Treat me right. And I be productive. Right?
Definitely.
I can organize this. No matter, I know this is a mess right now, and you need 500 forms to be signed. I can look at this and say, my God. I can look at this and say, this is a challenge. I got to do this, because at the end of the day, Christmas will look so good when I don't do this. I can shop in Nassau. I don't have to fly to the States, you know? Something has to motivate you. So it's a twofold. So companies today, they want to threaten you. They want to say, oh, you see the market, you know, where, you know, like the stock market, they say, when the market is bearish, you be bullish. And when the market is bullish, you be bearish. You know? But still, you're dealing with human beings. Treat people like they have options. Don't treat people like the market is bullish mess. You don't have much options. So you better thank God you have this job, and you better show up to this job every day, and you better do everything this job needs you to do. You don't know how you feel. You always get that?
Yeah.
So that's why we are here. This is why we are the future leaders, and this is why we can be in charge of these departments, and we can be the persons over these people to treat them right. And when you're dealing with other people, always think about what you need to perform. So what they need. And it ain't gonna be the same thing. You know? So yeah. All over the place. Make sure you have the right information. Yeah. Okay. My next learned friend in the back there.
41 in circumstance.
Yeah.
In the circumstances where the company's customer is considered a high-risk client, the company should also confirm the customer's source of wealth. For corporate customers, the central bank AM and CTF guidelines require 1. The original or a certified copy of the certificate of incorporation or equivalent document. 2. A copy of the board resolution authorizing the opening of the account or other facility and signatories authorized to sign on the account.
Why is that important? Why is that important? Because back in the day in Royal, we had accounts where we didn't ask. This was, and all these things, you know, they say, well, why would central bank develop? If you look back at the laws back in 2000 or central bank guidelines, all of this wasn't required. Why they gone this far? Why do you all think? We had a lot of accounts where the company, when we took the company, the company say, we never authorized that person. Yeah, that's employee fraud.
Yeah.
We fire them. Right? So now the company must say, these are my signatories, I allow them to open this account on my behalf. Okay, so this, every time you all see something in the past that was not required, it's because of some fraud, something going wrong. Because remember, we are very reactive. You know, so something has to go wrong first before we put it into place. Okay, so that's very important, and so you make sure that the right people, the owners of the company, sign this.
Right.
Because you have people who know. A lot of people who manipulate lawyers, power of attorneys, stuff like that. They create their own forms, or they know this company would open in an active or whatever. I could use this whatever because I do it fraud, or there's so many ways to circumvent the system. Okay, so make sure the right person signs. Because don't wait till something goes wrong.
You go back to the memorandum and articles of association. You will check that as well.
Yes.
To make sure the directors, the proper amount of directors signed it, or according to it, as well as who the signatories are.
Yes.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, because I was working at Royal and we opened an account, I could sign a letter, nobody would even question it. And I could go and open up an account. Just because they say, oh, she is a signatory on it, it's not, I may be a signatory, but I wasn't authorized to sign that letter. And it happens a lot of times.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Satisfactory evidence of the identity of all account signatories, details of their relationship with the company, and if they are not employees, an explanation of the relationship.
Okay, so I have 10 people on my signatory list. I verify in all 10?
Yeah.
All account signatories.
Some companies say, well, if this is the Royal Bank of Canada, they registered on with the central bank. They exempted in some areas, right? The entity is exempted. So I may do due diligence on 2 or 3. I've seen it happen. Yeah, if it's a reputable company, that is. But I can tell you that at Royal, where other banks had gave us an exemption, Royal Bank Retail verified all 10 of us. Passport, NIB, proof of address. And the CEO said, well, he gave, a lot of his mail came to the bank. He was an expat. They said, no, we cannot accept the bank's address as his proof of address. This is, again, the law says something, but you will find that companies never want to be in jeopardy with the law. So they make their policies more stringent. And so what he did is he went all the way up to Canada and he said, Royal Bank, I'm Royal Bank Wealth and Royal Bank Retail is insisting that I bring in a proof of my address where I live in Cayman. And the CEO wrote back and said, I'm the CEO of Royal Bank Canada and all the Royal Banks and I had to do it, why can't you? That was the end of the story. But that's just how far he went. And he went through like 6 layers before he got to the CEO of the, like that. So the Canadian banks' policies are more stringent. And a couple of years ago, I don't know, I must be because I came up in a Canadian bank, but Canada seems to be more stringent in a lot of areas and they have less fines and less banks closings and, less deficiencies. And the other day, it was a big thing because they hired a Canadian to be the governor of the Bank of England. So that just tells you the difference between British and, so for the most part, and I stand by it because I've seen other institutions where the Canadian bank says just no, we don't take the risk. Way more stringent. We will never pay those $1 billion fines and this fine and that. They've had to pay some, but not the big 1 billion like HSBC and Wells Fargo and stuff like that. So they're way more conservative. Because there's other ways they go into other more safer markets to make money. Yeah.
Do you ever use authorization from approval from the regulator as proof of your due diligence? For instance, a bank and trust company.
Yeah, they exempt it. So if you read central bank's guidelines,
Correct.
they tell you that they exempt it.
Correct.
But we have made the mistake where we had a bank who say, okay, this is, you need to verify that I misspelled it. Look at my passport, I'm not giving it to you, I misspelled it. Okay, so when and that's all we got.
Right.
So now, when you send in the first transaction, who's authorized to send me this transaction if I don't have your signature? Or I haven't verified the signatories. So they are still, even though they exempted for transactional purposes, we need to at least know who your signatories are. We need a signatory list. Right. So even though they're exempted, and you will find that they don't give you any information.
Exactly.
But like I say, and it was a learning curve because Royal Bank says, I don't care that you're exempted. We verifying everybody. No? You can't open an account with us. We're not interested. But just the Royal Bank brand, a little leading bank off the side who ain't really known around the world can't say that.
Exactly.
And so when Royal Bank comes and says, no, we ain't bringing in our stuff, you have to say, at least for transactional purposes, I need your signatory list. The law says where institution A has verified institution B can accept like a reference letter from institution A. So if I have an account with Royal, I should be able to go to them, get a reference letter, and say that I've been verified, take that to Scotia, and Scotia should open up my account.
Right.
But almost nobody in the world does that. It says you could then request a copy of the KYC within 30 days. But right now, you should be able to open that account. That's what the law says, that's what central bank guidelines says. However, none of the institutions should do it, because I thought it would have been a good thing to do for the number houses. Rather than having all that information going to the number houses, just get a reference letter from the bank. And then the number houses could exclude all that administrative work. But the banks wouldn't do it. And I mean, nobody really suggested it.
Right.
But it could have been done.
That's kind of...
It's risky,
Yeah,
because their system, you would have to have an immaculate system in place.
Exactly.
And if you go to Royal Bank Bay Street, and you have an account, when you go to Carmichael, they want you to bring stuff over. I say, no, I'm not bringing it. Call Bay Street and get a copy there. They don't do that. Because half of the time, you know, these passports expire.
Yeah.
And whatever, or this or whatever. So they say, too much administration trying to find out if the passport expire. Half of the time you can't find that file. This story, the next story. So every single time the customer's inconvenience.
Yeah.
So now I blame the banks. That's a lack of service.
But it's your risk too, because if you then at the bank who got the letter from the other bank have a problem, right, where there's some penalty or something, you got to go third party, pull the other bank into it. And
you're right.
Yeah, rather than you just do it right now at ground zero, so to speak, and get it done.
Yeah, I see the whole Bahamas is like that. I wonder if in the U.S. they don't do it because it's so competitive.
Yeah.
It's so competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
And if they are not employees, an explanation of the relationship. The requirements for a natural person for all signatories must be verified. Satisfactory evidence of the identity of each of the natural persons. A, with a controlling interest in the corporate entity other than a publicly traded company, being any person holding an interest of 10% or more, or with principal control over the company's assets.
And so how do you find out who has 10% or more?
Sure.
Right.
With IBCs. Typical with IBCs.
It's difficult?
Yeah.
Why?
And it's not a public document. The share register of an IBC.
No, it's not public, but they bring it. You ask the customer to bring it.
And they'll provide it if they want to open the account.
Yeah, that's a requirement. If you don't provide it, there's no way for you don't take their word that Ms. Dames on 5%. And I've seen, because on some factor forms that I looked at, I saw some people put in 8%. So they again, like just like the laws coming out to the industry, industry and to the public at the same time, because they already see this threshold. So what they can do, change all their documents right now to say right below the threshold.
Right,
now, CRS is 25% or more. Thank God. But again, that's more work for the compliance department, because trying to get the RMs to know that we have all the information for everybody who wants 10%. But if it's not more than 25%, then you don't report. Oh, it could be all these different names. Look like, because some people just say, man, I report to everybody. And then you can see the clients come back and say, close my account. Yeah, that's your risk, so be careful of that.
I hear you keep using this term RM, what's that?
Relationship manager. Yeah, or private banker, or trust officer, or whatever, like that. Or account officer in the retail banks.
B, who otherwise exercise control over the management of the corporate entity. And C, where no natural persons identified under the subparagraph A or B. The identity of the natural persons who holds the position of senior managing officials. The identities of all persons referred to in A and B must be verified as a natural person.
Okay, and this is a problem what we have now, because you see this where it says senior managing official. We have the share register. The senior managing official, we're on it because I'm the CEO, I'm the head of operations. You could say, okay, I want this person to be my controlling person. And of course, they can pick people who are Bahamians, or all the Bahamians for these Swiss entities and stuff like that, because in the Bahamas, they no tax. So that's what you can see right now. So I don't know if we are going to require these controlling persons not to be added to the accounts. Like what we could do. Who does not have to report, or who has the, you know what I mean? And you could hire somebody, I can hire somebody from the Bahamas because, taxes in their jurisdiction. And you could be the controlling person for my company. Right? So it could be a little confusing for a while. It's everybody on a learning curve though. So I don't think they could be like heavy fines and heavy penalties like when VAT come out. But the first year, the people couldn't explain to me what I needed to do, and they done charge me a penalty. I said, could we type this conversation so you don't know what I must do, but I get a penalty, reverse that, and then you could tell me what I must do. And it took them like 6 months, and every month they was charging me $100. I say, but I don't know what to say. Okay, so you can have that with CRS, because I have people here familiar with taxes, and like I say, when this information start coming in from all around the world, to the Philippines, to Switzerland, it could be a while before they can comprehend it. Yeah. Okay.
Go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Before a business relationship is established, confirmation may be sought by way of company search and or other commercial inquiries that the applicant company has not been or is not in the process of being dissolved, struck off the company's register, wound up or terminated.
And how do we find that out? What would he ask for? What tells you, what document tells you if the company been struck off, good standing? But are we asking for the good standings every year?
Mm-hmm. No, we don't. We should ask every year.
Yeah. Because we are law-abiding citizens today, tomorrow we could commit a crime, right? Tomorrow the company could be sued, right? So make sure that control is in place. Yeah. Okay.
The confirmation may be verified by a current certificate of good standing or equivalent document, or alternatively, obtaining a set of consolidated financial statements that have been audited by a reliable firm of auditors and that show the group structure and ultimate controlling party. In addition, companies should obtain the following information and documents when seeking to verify the identity of corporate clients: certified copy of the memorandum and articles of association, description and nature of the corporate entities, business including date of commencement of business, products or services provided, location of principal business, and name and location of the registered office and registered agent of the corporate entity, where appropriate.
So another thing that's happening along with this M&E bill, they are creating this beneficial owner registry now. Ryan Pinder got up and he spoke and he said, you go down to the registry, you pay $10, you ask for the file, and you're able to go and see who the beneficial owners are. So why, like this ain't no new thing. Why are we even doing this? There's a process in place. Perhaps it needs to be online, and then you have the same thing. But sometimes the governments like to say, oh, we did this and we created this, but it's been done in the UK. This beneficial owner registry they had to enact it. So they feel like we have to enact it as well. And again, we have it paper-based, but it could be online, and it's basically the same thing. Something else I wanted to mention. They also said that these law firms have a lot of companies as their registered office. That's no longer going to be permitted. Because this whole multinational bill will cover IBCs and what have you. I'm not familiar entirely, but you can't just say, oh, my registered office. Yeah, the company has to be established or whatever. I think they call it ring fencing or something like that. Yeah, so I know that'll affect a lot of our law firms.
Cause
yeah, because
there's a lot of Sorry, go on.
Yeah, you see a lot of them being the registered office and not really an established company, but they're doing these large transactions and, you know.
But I mean, the law, as you say, requires that a company have, if it's a local company, a registered office.
Right.
If it's an IBC, a registered office and a registered agent.
Right.
But if they take that, that's going to be hard for, just looking at it from another standpoint. A lot of small law firms.
Will shut down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's the lion's share of their business.
Again, this is what regulation does. It's very expensive. Because like I say, you have to have the compliance person in. They have to be sufficiently trained. And again, like you said, there's no longer a one person doing this department now, because there's so many different aspects. You know, all of this is very expensive, and then you have to put in the proper monitoring tools. I have put we had to update our system the other day. This system that checks every wire. All of that is expense. You have to have IT along, you know, so the cost of doing business is too high. You shut down. You
Can we go back to the registry? The beneficial ownership for a minute. Mr. Pinder said that you could go to the registry and pay $10 and get the ownership information.
Yeah.
But he's talking about local companies.
Yeah, he said unless we're doing equity, whatever, but all around the world.
But so I go back to what we were talking about with IBCs. They don't put their shareholders register. There is no shareholder that is required to be filed with the registrar of companies. Only the local companies.
Okay.
So, but the registered agent should have that register on its file.
Right.
So it's not produced publicly is what I'm saying. It's not so what happened in a lot of jurisdictions, you write to the registered agent and you ask, and then they have to confer with their client to say, somebody's asking for your beneficial ownership
Information.
and it can be very
so you feel that it's necessary then, this beneficial ownership?
I do, because they hide behind these
Yeah, they do, but if you can still pay somebody to get it, you just need to now make it public.
Exactly.
That's what he said. They trying to make it seem like this is something that we created or whatever. It's something that you have, it's just not made public.
Exactly.
That's the end of the story. So when I pay my $10, I should be able to get that information too.
Exactly.
That's essentially what he said.
Exactly, because it's that lack of accountability, if you will, that they're hiding behind, or using as a machine, a mechanism to hide from things.
Right.
But there's also, I think, the CSPA or whatever, the building company.
And why weren't you aware? It was in the newspaper.
Yeah, I flopped on
Have
that
you
one.
subscribed with the Securities Commission and the Central Bank to get their updates?
No, ma'am.
And ACAMS and BFFD, write these down. This is what you go back and do. You subscribe, so it's no more I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Some of them, but I hadn't with the SCB and
Yeah, so that, who else? They the main people, they the local
I know,
ones.
right?
Good that you subscribe with ICA and ACAMS so you can see. So ICA, ACAMS, Central Bank, Securities
SCB,
Commission, Bahamas
BFSC,
Services,
Financial
Financial
Services
Services Board, all those people, because they send you their newsletters and they send you the industry updates and the briefings and the stuff like that.
About
And-
MOFs, Ministry of Financial Services.
Yeah, Ministry of Financial Service, because that's who sent out yesterday that there was a briefing, and that was by the Attorney General. Okay? This is whose mail you want to read every day. Baco.
Yeah. Farmers Association of Compliance.
Compliance officer, yes.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
okay, these new compliance, this who should be your friends. These are the meetings and the luncheons and stuff that you should go to. There's student membership at Baco. You should be able to apply for student membership right now. Your banks should be, or your financial institutions should be paying for memberships. That should be a part of your benefits ask.
You automatically ask to apply for a student, or they determine whether or not they will accept you as a student?
But once you're in the class, you a student. Once you finish your ICA, then they allow you to be.
I said that based on an email that I got back from Baco. They told me
Okay.
that they would determine whether or not that I would be
Yeah, but
accepted.
so in their determination, because you're in the class, they can say student. I mean, this is normally what happens. They may change it depending on who the president is. But once you finish, then they make you member. Or a fellow or whatever they call it. You understand? But these are the associations that you should be a part of. These are the meetings you should be going to. Make sure you get a business card, and everywhere you go to everybody, because you are not known. Pretend that you're running as a politician. You introduce yourself, and you say, vote for me. Alright? No, I serious.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
laughing, but I serious. Market yourself. When I see names, I know her. Because that's how I go on with. When names call me on the phone, I know this name. Okay? These people got to know you. Build your network. Spend some time. You pay this money. You come to learn. Now, what you could do with it? Take it back to your institution, but outside of your institution, get in the right forums and know what's going on. When your CEO talk to you by the water cooler, you only talking about who win last night, or you watch the game or basketball or whatever. You know. I noticed that. Did you attend the industry briefing? Did you know what I mean? Blah blah blah. Speak knowledgeably. You can do that too. I great at that. Master of procrastination, me. But no, for true, do it. Put yourself out there. Put yourself out there. Okay. All the way to the back.
The reason for establishing the business relationship. 4. The potential parameters of the account including size in the case of investment and custody accounts, balance ranges in the case of current and deposit accounts, an indication of the expected transaction volume of the account, the source of wealth in circumstances where the company's customer is considered a high-risk client, the source of funds, and a copy of the last available financial statements where appropriate. 5. Copies of powers of attorney or any other authority affecting the operation of the account given by the directors in relation to the company and supported by a copy of their respective or resolution. 6. Copies of the list, registered directors, and officers of the corporate entity, including their names and addresses. 7. Written confirmation that all credits to the account are and will be beneficially owned by the facility holder, except in circumstances where the account is being operated by an intermediary for the purpose of holding funds in a professional capacity. 8. Satisfactory evidence of identity must be established for at least 2 directors, one of whom should, if applicable, be an executive director, where different from account signatories. And 9. Such other official documentary and other information as is reasonably capable of establishing the structural information of the corporate entity. Consequently, customer due diligence answers the following questions. What is the nature of the customer's business, interest, occupation? What is the customer's source of wealth? Is the current or proposed activity consistent with the customer's profile and commercial objectives? What is the customer's source of funds? What is the commercial rationale for the relationship between the customer and the company? What is the historical pattern of the customer? And I guess, is it consistent with what was expected of the relationship? The objective of the risk-based customer due diligence is to ensure that as the risk within the relationship increase, so the level of information obtained and or verified also increases.
Okay, good. And the next little tip, that person who is a verifier has to be at a certain level, because those salespeople will give you any garbage. So you want somebody who is very strong, who will send it back. Okay, so you need a strong gatekeeper at a sufficient level. Don't get an assistant or a teller or somebody, because they will be completely railroaded and taken advantage of. Somebody who will say, before that salesperson think that they can bring that garbage, no, I can't even take that garbage, that I can be sent back. So a strong gatekeeper at a sufficient level within the company. And that should make your lives a little easier, because like I say, you will get bogged down. And everybody is past the buck to compliance. So in your management meetings, you should be saying, listen, our relationship managers should be sufficiently trained. They are account officers, they are the first line of defense. Compliance is the second line of defense. But if there's no first, there's no awareness on the front, all like a fall into your lap. And because we are all trained and we in class and we know better and we know the risk, we end up taking it on. But that whole time it takes to send an email to tell this person what they do wrong, you end up doing it yourself. That's an administrative nightmare.
So what is said to them in the annual AML training sessions?
To the RMs?
Yes.
We actually had one yesterday where RM didn't believe that he should know his clients. But it's twofold. The company hasn't put in the correct structure. So he is saying, we have 500 clients. Am I supposed to know 500 clients? No. What's supposed to be happening is each RM should have 50 to 100 clients depending on complexity, remember? I said, because some clients, I may have one client that have, and again, we want relationships. We don't want bullet and code and my 5 children to have a different relationship manager. The 6 of us should have one relationship manager who's dealing with the relationship. So you need to know who related, you know what I mean? And you deal with this family, right? And so because even though this, my account might be small, but my children might be more transactional because they have different companies. You see what I mean? So you deal with the complexity because you want to deal with this complete relationship. You don't want my daughter calling and saying, but my mommy needed to know her balance or something would happen on her account. You say, oh, she have to talk to Miss Dames because I do that in my account. You see what I mean? So for good service, you deal with relationships. So if you have, if they are high risk and they are complex, then you have less relationships. But if you have all the low risks and the medium, that's why you have senior RMs, junior RMs, and then just RMs. You see what I mean? And I think, how does Fidelity have an account officer, an account officer assistant, or something like that, or? Oh, okay. Or loan officers and loan officer assistants, or something to that extent, no?
We have deposit administration reps, which is like a big grade like junior supervisors, and then we have the administrative assistants.
Right. So the ones at the top should have the high risk, more detailed, complex accounts. Then in the middle, some medium, and then somebody should have the low. Like normally in the offshore world, when you work, all the accounts that are dormant, deceased. Like when I went from retail to offshore, I had all the dormants, all the deceased, all the customers who they didn't find, who they had no KYC on or whatever. And I had 50 of them, and they were the worst customers of the bank. But the bank said the AUMs, and they were all below the threshold. Like you had to open an account with 250,000, but you had to have a net worth of 5 million. These people didn't have a net worth of 5 million, so they were very, very hard and difficult. You know, they put this money here. One woman say she put that money here, and I called her and I said the money is gonna go to central bank, and she said fine. She never called the bank back. She never take our calls. When her husband died, she showed up, and she said she was waiting for her husband to die. Just her daddy had left her that money.
Hold on, what you mean when you say going to central bank? Central bank.
So after 7 years, if an account becomes dormant, you have to send the money to central bank.
And then
the law says you shall. But because we want to be in good
y'all have any penalties for not water?
There's no penalty because the law says shall. So what happens? Okay, remember the FATF sends the recommendations of Basel or IMF or OECD. The countries then write laws. Central bank says shall for that dormant accounts, but in their guidelines they say
should.
You should send it. Companies want to stay in good standing with the regulator, so they listen to the guidelines. But if you go to the law, we had a company that we audited that said the law said shall send the money. I put that in my P&L. Why should central bank get all that money? If the people come back, I can pay them back and no penalty. Central bank can't fine them or penalize them or have nothing against them, but you just gotta have the cojones and everything else better be in line when they come to check you. You really gotta be business savvy and know. But if you know how much millions of dollars And now the central bank say, oh, we find out that a lot of people don't cash checks. We want those checks too, because the checks are just kept and they go in our P&L. And then the central bank say, babe, these offshore centers, they attach to a retail bank, and then retail bank have safety deposit box, and they don't know what to do with that 50,000. They find that safety deposit box or that jewelry, they could take that too. So if your CEO or the owner of your company business savvy, nothing say, well, no, I can take that jewelry. I can take that, I can take that money. Yeah, we can pay it back when you come, and hopefully some people have died and nobody knows because they hide these accounts offshore, so it's so many different scenarios. Somebody had defrauded the French government. Y'all could go online and look up Count Alain de Villegas. He defrauded the French government, said that he could create a machine to find oil, and it was y'all know the story about the Empress New Clothes. He basically did the same thing, and then the government changed, like out of let's say it was from the F&M to the PLP, and then when the PLP come on, they say, man, you're defrauding us, give me something about that now I can talk. So it went on for 2 more years, and then they finally brought him before the courts, and he escaped. He had an account with us. He had 93 security safety deposit boxes around the world. Everybody was looking for this money. All was empty except one. One had the money in it. But his doctor, not his doctor, his daughter had to get power of attorney to go and drill all these boxes around the world. And when she came to us, we was missing number 80 something that was empty. Read it, Count Alain de Villegas. And these offshore, all kinds of stories. Y'all be surprised. You could write movies. Right? And so now central bank say, yeah, $50,000 in the safety box. Remember Kevin Major, she got locked up because she went into Royal Bank and the Commonwealth Banking. And she was walking around with $800,000 out of the safety deposit box. Remember? They was calling her the $1 million girl years ago. The white major's wife. Yeah. So let's just say they've been to jail for 15 years. If she didn't get a chance to move that money. Her money that she had on the account, the banks had locked them out. And so that $250 for that safety deposit box wasn't being paid. Right? And so after 7 years, that safety deposit box is dormant. In fact, it's unpaid, and I think your safety deposit box policy should say after 1 year of non-payment, we can drill. So suppose it is we go drilling $800,000, and the law says shall send that to central bank. Hello? What you think your CEO would do? Whenever Kevin them come out of jail, we go fight them. Come see me, they ain't pay, so we had to we take whatever, because it say if it's jewelry or whatever, you could sell it to cover the charges for the arrest. But they might kill you, that's the way. If they know you just a little rinky dinky bank. Now they ain't gonna shoot up the central bank, but you know what I mean? That's the risk, but yeah. So that white paper is out too, is for dormancy and unclaimed property, it's called. So you could fight it. No, because you know one day you will be the CEO of the bank. No central bank, the law says shall. Y'all do not need all these checks for the cash. Y'all don't need this Rolex watch. Okay, we've had jewelry, and the person died, and he willed it to his daughter and his son or whatever, and they came in and they said, my father said it was a $50,000 Rolex. We said, but this is what the jewelry is, and they say no, the bank. We switch it out. We thief out the real, and we, but it has happened before, and they took us to court, but they didn't prove it. They couldn't prove it. So after that, when you bring your Rolex and your whatever, and you put it in here, because a lot of times you don't even know what in the safety deposit box, but we tell you, you have to, if you want value on what's in there, you have to go and get an appraisal. So we stopped accepting stuff without an appraisal. Because if you
tells
go
you
with
what's
it,
in there, right?
yeah.
Right.
And the value of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Close them loopholes.
yeah, there's so many things. But like I say, don't fear, you can do it. In the end, it's still worth it. You just be organized and you work on the culture and you and you enforce, and then you put the human factor in there. It can be done. Okay, but stay abreast. You all have a lot of research and homework is on these exams. I don't want to see what the books say. I want an example. I want what's happening currently, especially if the CRS question is there. I better see July reporting. I better see with the industry updates. We better know that December we just signed the agreement. We better say that we blacklisted. No points for what the book say. Pure examples. Life ain't fair. No, this is what is required of you. When your CEO come in and ask you, so what's the latest on CRS, what you can say? You pull out this book. Give me some examples of tax evasion. Why would we be prone to it? What will happen when these CRS forms come in? You better triple check them. You better put your plan in place now to receive them, because a lot of changes, you will see a whole file of the update. When these people calculate how much money they got to pay to these governments. Hello? Thank God the retail only have a small percentage. I see 10% of your accounts are different currencies or not non-Bahamian. Yeah, but when you go to corporate banking and all these offshores, we only have foreigners. Yeah, we don't even know it would be dollars. No questions. You running to go to the computer right now and study for the rest of your Saturday. No, or you're having a brain freeze. Yeah, unwind first. You feel good. It's Saturday, relax, because Monday right here, and then you schedule your 2 hours for Sunday afternoon or something.
We have a more voting thing till headquarters. I won't go vote.
Okay, go vote. Research.
That's fine.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Vote right now. We ain't need no more. Who you voting for? You vote one of them ladies. Laura encouraged you to vote in.
Yeah, well, that's the people I voted for.
You're great. So, yeah. Okay, good. It's a lot of work, but that's why you should be sufficiently paid. You make sure you have the right reporting levels. Work on the culture is your responsibility. With the CEO, get the culture, get everybody trained up, because people are only operating at their knowledge level, and that's what we fail to realize. Where we see this, when you have a conversation with somebody and you see a gap, then start saying, okay, train. We done invest so far in this person. How do you get this person to the next level? Because there's a job shortage right now, so you don't want to have a mass, throw the whole bank away and start over. No.